Hello traders, how are you? Vladimir Ribakov here from Traders Academy Club, and welcome to the weekly Forex and the rest of the markets review for the week starting on 13th of May to 18th of May. The previous week was a very interesting week. As expected, majors were losing it versus the dollar until Thursday. Then we started to see some kind of reversal signs on the short term due to the CPI, and the core CPI in the US showed some weakness. It's not the same comfort that the US leaders were expecting to, but still the numbers are pretty fine, and there is still good chance for further hikes of the rates to come later this year or maybe the next year, according to the plans. So what can we expect for this week? We will start to go over the charts, but first of all, I would like to thank you very much for watching this video, and I hope this video is helpful for you, and I will try to include the most interesting things for you for your trading this week. If you do enjoy this video, please share your support back, hit the like button, leave your feedback below the video in the comment section. Feel free to share it with anyone who you believe can enjoy from that and benefit from it. And the last thing, on Monday we will be published the weekly review PDF version. So come back to the video, go down to the comments. I will post a comment there. I will pin it for you, so you can download the weekly review, or alternatively in the description I will include the link on Monday in the description as well, or just follow my newsletter emails and I will send it to you as well. So what can we expect this week? We have many interesting things happening, but first of all, the fundamental view. We have the monetary policy meetings in Australia with following speeches. Average earnings in the UK, inflation report, which is a very important one, core retail sales and retail sales in the US, wage price in Australia. I'm going over the red ones, of course. Speech from Draghi on Wednesday, that should be one to pay attention to. Building permits in the US. Crude oils, speech from Chairman Jordan in Swiss. And the non-farm payrolls in Australia, employment change, unemployment rate, annual budget release in New Zealand, and Friday would be a very interesting day for Canadian ones, like the CPI and the core retail sales to be published, and that's very interesting to see what numbers they will have for us. So let's go over the technical things and see what are the best opportunities for us to trade with. Let me just prepare my pen here. Okay, dollar franc is one of the most interesting ones, as it seems. The pair is stuck inside a long-term range. Now this breakout turned to be a fake, and we can see how strong the pair really reacting from it. Getting closer and closer to the top of the range would start to put some pressure on the dollar franc, and on the coming weeks I believe the bullish power should slowly lose it, and the higher we go, the better the sells should be accordingly. Now I marked here on the daily chart, I marked the levels so you can pay attention to what I call clearance levels. What do I mean? This was the last official high of the previous big trend down, right? Now this area is clean, so we got clean means that all those who sell here put the stop losses above this area, and this is the clearance zone, right? The classical clearance zones of the unexperienced positions. Now once this area is cleaned, this is where we start to get the pressure, and we might get some short-term pullbacks. The next important levels to pay attention to would be this one, and that's 101 plus, and the next one would be right here around the 102. So if we can get and clear these areas, every time we cross above, this is the time to start to pay attention to some important facts for sell evidences, like bearish candle patterns, like false breaks, like rising trend line breakouts to the downside, like the reversals and creating lower lows. For example, like the one we've had right here on the short term, we can see that every time these highs are trying to break above and retracing again, showing some weakness signs. Also the top trend line, right? All that is showing the signs of the possible reversals. Of course, we can go and mark the last channels that we've had, breaking above that, holding a beautiful double top with bearish divergence, providing the evidences I'm talking about. And according to the strategies you use with, you can start looking for the sell setups, and the sell setups would be based on the strategies you really apply. So these clearance zones, that's where I would expect that might be the first one, the next one, and the third one, to start looking for the evidences and the setup. So the dollar franc, from my point of view, starts to be very interesting from this week to the coming weeks, and every rally to these areas, I would expect some fight with the between the bulls and the bears starting to show their interest on the short term here. Now pay attention to the news coming this week, the speech from Chairman Jordan, and the news from the US. They will be effective. Eurodollar is the next pair on the list. The Eurodollar is, well, going so far so well, nothing else to say. Currently rallying. I still think we might get one more push to the downside to finalize that before we are all going all the way highs. But currently on the short term, we might expect some pullbacks. We did experience that from the beautiful support area of the 118, psychological 118, so far holding. So we might get here some kind of pullback back to these areas. And from there, I think the Eurodollar has better chances to start and dropping lower. The beautiful levels to pay attention to would be the levels of the Fibonacci retraces. Okay. And oops, sorry, these are the very important levels to watch. All right, and look for the next bearish evidences. If we get the rally, that would be a very good evidence for us to start looking for the next possible portion to the downside. The next one on the list would be the pound dollar, which is moving down, not surprising, and coming closer and closer to the levels we wanted to see. So we have the weekly cycle. The 38.2 is up right here, the 134, the 38.2 Fibonacci retrace. The next one is the 132 zone, and I suspect we are slowly going towards this area. I would want to see this zone being cleaned, like crossing there and bouncing there. So rallies, from my point of view, are still to be sold until we start to create some kind of bullish divergence here, and we can then consider the buys. So dropping to the lower time frames, we need to see we need to see this range. If we manage to break above that and hold, we can see the next resistance and sells. And if we don't manage to break the range, then the sells could come even from the inside, leading us towards the 132. So the way I see that, there are no yet evidences for long-term change. Every short-term retraces to the upside should provide us the opportunities to start looking for further sell continuations. And yes, short-term retraces are welcome, of course, because we want them to happen and allow us to join the next sells. Euro versus the pound, the long-term sells still on after the triple cycle here. Now, the previous week I was expecting to see the trendline breakout and start looking for possible sell setups. The trendline breakout did happen, but what happened in fact was the retrace to the upside, which means this was a false breakout below the trend line. This is why I always say look for for facts and then look for your setup, right? This is a fact. It was broken. That's a good sign of the bears. Now time to look for setups with the strategies we use, and then with the news that were published from Britain on the previous week, boom, and a short-term turnaround. So what's going to happen next with the euro versus the pound? We currently don't have any clear setup, but the long term is still sell for us. So what do we have? We have the false break on the top, which was right here. We have a false break on the bottom, which was right here. That could turn to be the range before the continuation. On the other side, that could turn to be a triple cycle, which will take us slightly higher and then provide us a sell. So for us, we need to start look for sell evidences on the top of the range. If it holds and manages to complete the reversal for us, we can start looking for the sell setups with the strategies we use. And if we cross above the range, then the next important level would be right here, and we would be looking for sell evidences at that moment, at that place. Now, these are the levels, as you remember from the cycle. We talked about it on the previous week as well. This is the first critical zone. This is the top of the range, right? And this is the 161.8, the level where it could lead us towards, and from there the bearish sells expected to gain stronger momentum. So that's my view for the euro pound. The long term cycle did not change. The short term can still make the pair move inside this channel, which means can still make it to play this area before any further continuation. And we need to look for the evidences after facts, like the trend line, which I mentioned before. Next one on the list is going to be the euro versus the yen. So far so good. We got our move down as we expected. The question is what's going to happen now, because the pair does have the triple bottom, does have the divergence. The question is that all? And this is where I'm not quite sure about. I still think that we are going to have one more push lower. So from my point of view, as long as this area holds, we should be looking to sell the rallies, which means on the 4-hour chart, we should start to pay attention to the levels. That was the cycle that we've had before. So we might go and get this kind of a cycle, and from there looking for the continuation. So what kind of signs can we look for to go for sells? First of all, the resistances, which we can see here. Both are psychological zone, one around 131, one around 132. The alternative would be false break. So if we get a false break here, then we start creating lower lows, and we will be looking for the sell setups for the euro versus the yen. Next one on the list is one of our stars, as we wanted to see, and we get it finally, the Aussie versus the Kiwi, a pair that we are following for a few years, for a few weeks. We were looking for retraces, which we got here. It was to the bottom of the range with the bullish hidden divergence from these lows, and from these lows, both new lows. And we got a beautiful reversal from there, yes, thanks to the news, and we got that rally. Now, the question is what's next, and for the long term, the plan did not change. The plan remains the same. We are looking for further buys, which means every drop down, every retrace down, we can start looking for continuation. And that's our long-term levels, right? That's what we are looking at. And of course, if we break this zone, then this becomes a buy area again for us, right? So this is our plan for the Aussie Kiwi, continuing on the buy side, buy retraces. The deeper they are, the better it is for us. The next one on the list we have here CAD versus the yen, not a pair I normally follow, but it's really interesting one. According to the weekly cycle, this is what we have, triple double. So as long as this area holds, this is my invalidation. As long as we are below that, we should be looking to sell the rallies. Now the pair is building up to waves. So I think 1, 2, 3. This is our zones to start looking for the sell evidences. The divergence building itself to the upside. So every time we visit around these areas, and they all are psychological zones, as you can see. It starts with 86, 87, 87.50 up to all the way to 89. That's the critical area for the CAD yen. One of them I expect to hold and provide us the sell opportunities. So keep an eye on this one. I think it's coming to some critical level, zone and period, and we should expect the retraces from there. And the one here, the new one, right? Euro versus the Canadian, holding its 152, which is the 61.8 level of the cycle. We have a divergence. So yeah, we can still dance and maybe try to reach the 150, definitely. But we have already the levels to start look for the possible retraces setups. So if we get the setups on the lower time frame, for example, if we get a trendline breakout, right, we can start looking to buy the dips, right, with evidences, of course, bullish candles, Fibonacci retraces, trend lines, etc., with all the things and the tools that you are using with. And if we go, ideally, yeah, if we go lower to the 150, that's a very psychological area that should provide us a cycle duplication here, and it would provide us most likely some amazing opportunities to the upside. Oops, sorry. And commodities are next. Gold and silver. Gold is still making it to move inside this channel, and on the other side this channel, right? So well, I can of course draw it better. Let's try to fix it. Line, yeah, okay, you got the idea. Sorry, it's free pen, it's pretty hard to work with. So if we get the move to the downside, we should be looking for buy areas on the next support, on the next bounces, and that's, from my point of view, anything on 1310 and lower. That could be 1310, 13 clear, and even closer to 1280, where we are going very likely for a big push to the upside. And on the short term, this double wave could really provide us some sell opportunities from this area or this area. We can get the short term sells to the downside if that's really holding it. Oil reached the amazing level of 70, now dancing around it. All the things happening with Iran and the US don't contribute, don't really help here, of course. I think that with this divergence is developing, we should start getting the oil forming for us some sell setups, and I believe we should be looking for the ideas to sell. And if we reach slightly higher, that's a critical area, which again will put the pressure and make a sell. So 70, 72, 74 should be the critical areas to look for sell evidences and opportunities for the oil. Indices, German DAX is bouncing from the 1300, the same level we have been talking about. Quick reminder, not much we need to do right now. We first of all would want it to break the trend line, and then we would be looking to sell the rallies. No change here, and that's basically, I can go over all of them. This is one I would pay attention to for NASDAQ, for a possible head and shoulders as well. This is a critical place, the surrounding of 7,000. Same story, trend line, breakout and sell retraces. It could happen any moment, so but as long as it did not happen, don't rush to get involved. And a bit of the cryptocurrencies which are currently making some kind of corrections. Ripple is the one I love, bullish hidden divergence, very interesting opportunity. So this is the 4-hour chart pullback. We would want to see the retrace taking place, and then we will be looking for buy retraces with the setups. And Bitcoin is pretty much doing the same so far, so good. Triple cycle to the upside, double cycle correction. This is a very critical zone here, right on that place. I suspect it to bounce, make the breakout, and we can start looking for the next pushes to the upside. And IOTA, but basically they all, okay, I'm not going to go all over them, but they all represent the same technical idea for us. So that would be all for today. The way it looks, the market is building some really good opportunities for us to follow. I will keep going over all the instruments, of course, on daily basis on the live trading rooms. I invite you to join the live trading rooms if you are still not in the Traders Academy Club, and the trading reports and setups that we do every single day, twice per day, for you. So you're welcome. We now have 7 trial days in the Academy. You can get the link right below the video in the description. There is a link. 7 trial days. Come see if it's for you. See if you feel comfortable with what we do, and hopefully you will enjoy our trading ideas and setups in the club. Thank you very much for your time watching this video. Please show your support back. Leave the feedback and hit this like button. It helps us. Feel free to share it with anyone who you believe can enjoy from that, and I'm looking forward to see you in the live trading groups on the coming week. Thank you for your time and happy weekend. Yours, Vladimir Ribakov, Traders Academy Club.